Hi everyone. Okay, so my last video was about picking the best dog food for your dog and how important it is to read the ingredients and to understand what the ingredients are and especially where they come from, especially with all these recalls going on. You don't want dog food that's got ingredients that are coming from third world countries that might be contaminated or things like that. I guess things that are inadequate. You don't want ingredients that are not going to do anything for your dog and are used just as fill. Um, so I want to talk to you right now about the importance of knowing what is good for your dog and how ingredients can significantly change the life of your dog. So I have two examples. The first is a friend of mine. I actually grew Motley. Motley is a Cocker Spaniel. And little Mr. Moo. It's funny because they're both Mr. Moos. But anyway, Motley, as a puppy, I used to call him Moo Choo. I don't know why. Kind of stuck. So Motley, like most Cocker Spaniels, had chronic ear infections, and a lot of the vets were telling him, or telling the owners, that the dog had chronic ear infections and there was nothing you could do. Keep his ears clean, keep them shaved out so that it's easier to clean, keep an eye on them, here's some antibiotics, and good luck. And I wasn't satisfied with that. He would come in for grooming and his ears would be bright red, and he looked awful. So I talked to the owner, and I said to her, what are you feeding him? So she told me, we've always fed our dog Pedigree Healthy Vitality, I believe was what it was. So I finally convinced her to try just one bag of something different, just to see, just to entertain my thought about what was going on. And sure enough, I was right. Motley did not have chronic ear infections. He had a food allergy. So what was happening was the food was reacting to his skin. And of course, you've got a moist ear, and it's red, and it's itchy, and bacteria would grow in his ears, so he'd have chronic ear infections. He has now been eating, he eats Pacifica grasslands. He has been eating it for the last, I'd say, 6 months, and I groom him every 6 weeks, and I have not seen his ears this amazing ever. They look fabulous. His skin is nice and pink, his ears aren't itchy, his toes aren't itchy. He looks amazing. So if your dog has health issues, it is super important to understand what they're eating and what might be aggravating the problem. So Mr. Motley, it turns out, is actually allergic to chicken, beef, and all grains. He's very sensitive to grains. Now, dogs don't develop allergies like we do. Usually we are, for lack of a better term, born with an allergy. So the first time you try shrimp, you have an allergic reaction to it. Dogs aren't like that. Most of the time, they will develop an allergy over time. My phone should talk to me. And if it's an unknown number, I don't pick it up. Yeah. No thanks. We had a lot of, what do they call them? Telemarketers at this time. No thank you. We don't pick up if it doesn't have a number. So it turns out, is very allergic to many things, and it's very frustrating as a groomer to hear about these dogs who have been told, or these owners who have been told, it's just a chronic thing, you're just gonna have to deal with it. So when they found out that Motley was allergic to grains and chicken and beef, they had taken him off of that. And they were very confused because they said, well, he's been eating this since we got him. Like I said, dogs don't develop allergies like we do. They develop allergies over time. So it's their body's way of saying, okay, you've had enough of this, stop. We need to have something else now. So I strongly encourage all pet owners to rotation diet their dogs. There are a few exceptions if your dog's supremely sensitive. if you can get away with doing it every 6 months, it's better that way. I know some dogs, actually I groomed one today, they change their food, like they can change one kibble and it's just awful. So, know your dog. So the other dog is a success story, I should say, another success story, and I'm very, very happy to say that it went well because I get so many people who come in and they hear me talk about different foods and ingredients, and it's just like they roll their eyes and, oh yeah, blah blah blah, you're just trying to get me to buy really expensive food. And I promise you I'm not. I'm a post college student. I've I'm living with my mom. I'm very tight for money. I'm not going to sell you something just because I honestly, truly am trying to make your dog's life better. So this lady comes in with this little Shih Tzu, and little Gizmo had been having skin issues for probably the last, I believe she said about 4 or 5 years. She had gone to the vet and had tests done and bought medicated shampoos and rinses and tried vet food and then tried this and tried that. So I finally said, look, I said, this is going to take a while. So we pulled up a chair and I grabbed a notebook and I said, okay, we need to start way, way back at the beginning. I said, we need to know what started this. Where did this start? So at the end of an hour and a half, it turns out, from what I've deduced, this dog was eating Iams and had been eating Iams for probably, I don't know, I think she said 6 or 7 years. And all of a sudden he started getting yeast infections. So she brought him to the vet, and the vet said, okay, well maybe, you know, maybe there's too many, what did she say, too many preservatives. Try a more natural dog food. So she switched the dog from Iams to Iams Healthy Naturals. And like I said, just because it comes from the same company and has a different bag color doesn't necessarily mean it's different. So the dog's problems persisted. And I explained to her that chances were the dog was probably developing an allergy to chicken because that's the protein source that Iams uses, unless it specifically says in the bag. Um, Nobody had ever told her that. And this had been going on for several years. Nobody had explained to her that the dog might be allergic to chicken, and that's why he was having these skin infections. So she had switched the dog from Iams to a vet food, then to a different grocery store brand, and then back to a vet food, and then to a high quality pet store food. And that's when she started to see a difference. And she said, I started to see that things were getting better, but it's not getting as better as I was hoping. So I said to her, especially at this stage of the game, it's very hard to tell because she tried so many different things in such a short period of time. I know 4 or 5 years sounds like a pretty long period of time, but there's a lot of things I'm missing out here. There was a long list. I explained to her that the best thing to do for Gizmo would be to put him on something that he had never been on before. So I finally had convinced her to try raw food. Now we sell raw food at our pet store, and the brand that we carry is called Pets for Life, the number 4. Very good, very good company. Low carbs, all natural, human grade ingredients, and I'm telling you, like, seriously, this dog, she came back about a week later and said that she was waking him up, or he was waking her up at like 6 o'clock in the morning to eat. And she said, I don't know if I'm feeding him too much or not enough, and that's why he feels hungry. And I kind of chuckled to myself, and I said, no, it's because he likes it. I said, he had 11 pounds, he should only be eating this much. And I said, if you're worried, I said, give him a little more. It's not going to hurt if you see he's getting a little bit more chunky. Pull him back a little. But I said, I have a feeling he's just really enjoying the food. So a little time had gone by and I hadn't seen her, and I was thinking to myself, oh God, I hope she didn't go back to whatever she was feeding the dog, and I'm just holding out and hoping that she's going to follow through with it and get to her goal of what she wanted to feed the dog. And sure enough, about 2 days later, she came in with the dog and she said, look at him. He looked awesome. His skin was that nice pink color. He wasn't itchy. He wasn't swollen. It had been a week by the time she switched him over to strictly raw food. It was like night and day, and she said, I cannot believe it was that simple to get him healthy again. And she was floored. Nobody had ever told her that raw food doesn't have the preservatives. It doesn't have, most people aren't making raw food with the slops out of the bucket. They're making it with high quality food. And her dog has just done a total turnaround because his diet has changed his body. So it's super crazy important to understand what is best for your dog. What might be good for one dog is not going to be good for the rest. This little guy is so much happier. He's so much more bright and alert and happy. He's got a sensible amount of protein in his system. No more high sugar carbs that are bouncing them off the walls. No more preservatives that were, reacting with his skin. No more sugar ingredients that were encouraging the yeast to grow. This dog has been reintroduced to being a dog because he's had an owner that has finally understood the very specific needs of her dog. And that's something that I really want to drive home, is that you need to understand what is and is not good for your dog. And that's why I come back to it so many times. There is no one good dog food. There are so many very good dog foods out there that don't have, grains in it. They don't have very scary um, preservatives. There are dog foods out there that have alternate proteins like duck and like rabbit. Um, I've even seen kangaroo and buffalo. There are foods out there. You need to read the bags, and not just the front of the bag that says buffalo diet. Read the ingredients and make sure that that's all that's in there. If your dog has a sensitivity, let's say to chicken, then you buy a turkey diet. Make sure that they're not sliding in chicken. The one that comes to mind, actually, which floors a lot of people when you mention it to them, is veterinary food. The ones that are designed for dogs with sensitive stomachs, with allergies, typically have chicken, and chicken is a huge allergen. It's such a common protein that most dogs will develop a sensitivity to chicken. Um, so read the bags, read the ingredients, and understand why each ingredient is in the dog food. Um, it would take way too long for me to go through all the ingredients in a bag of dog food. But if you flip a bag of dog food over and it says my favorite, chicken byproduct meal. That's not something that you want in your dog food. Any sort of byproduct is not a good thing. Meals in themselves, like chicken meal, is not bad. Those are the bones and the organ meats, which do have a lot of good things in them. But that's where I draw the line. That's where I draw the line. Um, Anything else, when you start seeing some scary things like there's another one that's like 8 feet long, and it's like, seriously, it's just another word for corn. You'll get corn, ground yellow corn, uh, ground yellow corn, gluten meal. Like, it's all just another way to say corn. You don't want to see double and triple ingredients that are the same thing. You don't want to see herring meal, herring byproduct meal, white herring, like herring, period. So I hope you guys really take this to heart. The quality of your dog's ingredients in the food is going to make an astronomical difference to the quality of life your dog has. And if nothing else, um, understand that whatever goes in has to come out. And you don't want it to come out the back end. You want the body to be able to use all the ingredients it's eating. So if you have any questions, please let me know. I will try to answer them to the best of my ability. Um, if all else fails, do your reading. Go on the internet. Find all those dirts that you can about a company. I have a funny saying at the shop when we start seeing about new companies, and I always tell Charlie, who is my boss slash coworker, I want to see what this company has to say about themselves. And you can tell a lot about a company by what they say about themselves. So I hope you learned something, and for the health of your dog, I really hope you take it to heart.